Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, and that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and that good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we are compelled as leaders to take some time off to try to discuss some very thorny issues pending before the House. We haven't resolved all, but we are hopeful that very soon they will all be resolved. And so we apologize for keeping you waiting up to this time. The House should have commenced business at 10, as we usually say in the forenoon. And so we are more than 2 hours behind schedule. We sincerely apologize for the delay. With this, we'll move on to item 4 on the order paper, which is correction of votes and proceedings and reports. We will start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 21st March, 2023. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, Page 10. Yes, Honorable.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Speaker, page 10, item number 8, at sub number 2, the spelling of clotically, I think doesn't come with a Y. If you check from the names of the members, clotically normally ends with an L. Then I recall that the honorable member actually called on the House regarding the statement she made yesterday. She rather called the House to address the challenges confronted to enforce effective and efficient output. So the first Deputy Speaker who presided rather said that it appears the office of the clerk may not have been drawn to this matter, so it would be proper that his attention is rather drawn to the issues so that he will address them. So it was not that she on the office, it's rather called on the House, if that can be corrected. So that it reads, made a statement in honor of the Department of Official Report and called on the House to address the challenges confronting the department to ensure effective and efficient output. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I need, the first Deputy Speaker is available. I wasn't presiding at that time, he was. Is that the...
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The call by the maker of the statement, Honorable Zanito, was on the House. And I suggested that there appears to be a disconnect in the committee and the Speaker's office. So I refer the matter to the House Committee to investigate and report to the, the
House
board,
Committee.
report to the board. The House will investigate particularly the things they need and report to the board. That was my direction. Thank you.
So, table office. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I was trying to reach the Honorable Zanato. Yes, Honorable the former point suggesting may be right, but because we are dealing with the same matter of Hansard, we should appreciate what Hansard do or does. When you say Hansard, it's verbatim report. Her statement indeed had the word office. So that's why I was trying to reach her, so that I took a copy from her, but I returned it after I contributed to the statement. But Mr. Speaker, as rightly observed, First Deputy Speaker who presided, the Honorable the former court is right. For the record in page 10, paragraph 8, the word is there should be substituted for House for our record. That her plea was to the House. When we do get a copy of the original statement, then we'll be able to reconcile what is it that she read and what Hansard reported. Because we have to refer to Hansard. Normally, Mr. Speaker, you will have a copy of the statement in your file, and that should help our guidance. But we agree that he gave his consequential approach. What the former court is saying is right. She could not be to the same office to help itself. The office cannot help itself. If I even said that it has to be the board working through the clerk. So the word office there should be substituted for House. Let us reconcile it with an original copy of her statement so that Hansard too can be vindicated on many of these issues. I thank you.
Honorable members. Yes, First Deputy Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if it will guide you, I have your statement here. We'll table it so that any references to them may help clear the air as to what the statement was and what the orders I made. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, there is no harm in tabling the statement. You know that this statement was made under Order 72. The order requires that a copy be made available to Mr. Speaker. And you know the definition of Mr. Speaker includes the deputy speakers. And that is why I delegated the authority to the first deputy speaker. But what it requires the members to do is just the terms of any such proposed statement shall be submitted to Mr. Speaker. So you can submit the statement like the one that has just been laid. But when you are in the statement, you are not bound to go by every word in the statement. So in the statement, it could have been stated office. But in making the statement on the floor, the member could have used house. And so the member is not available. Now there's some disagreement as to the word, but the Honorable Dafiemako says is house, supported by Honorable Haruna. The third deputy speaker, what is in the statement talks of office. Whatever the situation, we'll cross-check from the official records, which we refer to as the Hansard, and then do the writing. But it's important that I make a small correction to the directive. The House Committee cannot report to the board. The House Committee has to report to the House. The House will do the proper thing by going through their representatives on the board. And then it will now be submitted to the board for consideration. There's good reason why the House is asked to set up a committee that advises the Speaker to appoint the members of the board. And usually, by practice, by convention, the leader is usually delegated and empowered and authorized by the House to be member of the board. And then the Speaker proceeds to appoint them. And so that's the process you can pass through to report to the board for consideration. Well, it's the board that takes care of the service. The Speaker is having ultimate responsibility for the service, but the clerk is in charge of the day-to-day administration of the service. So that is how we proceed. This one is for the education of everybody, not just only members of parliament, but also the public. But we've been getting a lot of wrong things being done. People just submit things, some things directly to the clerk, some are submitted to the Speaker, some are sent to the House. But we need to come out clearly. And I hope that during the 30th anniversary celebration, we'll have to interact with the public to explain some of these things to the public, so that the public, particularly the civil society organizations, know how to relate to Parliament. It's very important, and this is a very critical issue. I want to thank members for raising it up. But please stay with follow up and make sure that what was said yesterday as a statement and the comments are properly captured as the votes and proceedings of that day. With this, we proceed to page 7. Yes, the honorable member for Kwadaso.
Honorable Speaker, since you talk about education of the House, on item 9, drawer of papers, the Honorable Deputy Minister, Mrs. Abena Osasari, by leave of the chair, withdrew the following papers. If you read Order 7, it normally talks about leave of Parliament or leave of the House. So I would like a clarification on this. Thank you.
It's not a document in the possession of the Speaker. It's a document in the possession of the House. In fact, the House owns the document once you lay a paper or a bill. So it's only the House that can grant the leave for that paper or document, bill to be what? Withdrawn by the sponsor. So please, table office is not the chair, it's the House. Thanks for drawing our attention. Page 12. Yes, sorry, we haven't finished. Yes.
Always we are still on page
11, yes.
Under 9II and before 10, presentation of papers. Honorable First Deputy Speaker accordingly withdrew the referral to the Finance Committee. Normally we withdraw from. So I was thinking it should be withdrew the referral from the Finance Committee. Thank you. And also, the last sentence, Development Bank Ghana. Development Bank Ghana. If you go to the next page, page 12, the first paragraph, it has Development Bank of Ghana. So I want consistency regarding the name of the bank. Is it Development Bank of Ghana or Development Bank Ghana? Because I know it to be Development Bank Ghana. Thank you.
Yes, you are right. Table office, please insert the off at page 11, the last line, Development Bank of Ghana. And the from, delete to and insert from the Finance Committee, not to the Finance Committee. Page 12.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, the name of the bank, we need to check because what I've seen so far talks about Development Bank Ghana.
Well, Honorable Member, we'll follow your advice. We'll cross-check to make sure we get the correct nomenclature of the bank. Attention has been drawn to the language also at page 11, where the First Deputy Speaker gave the directive. We do the referral instead of from, but made to the Finance Committee. That is better than from.
Speaker, yeah, you are right. Made to is It's also better than from.
Yes.
Thanks, yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, honorable members, page 13.
I was on page 13, minor correction on VII. The last line, respect of the Abonire Forest Reserve within the Asnafosa district of the Ahafo region, not with, but within. Thank you.
Is a within ended only with, so you have to add the IN. Table office, kindly take note. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, sorry for taking you back. Page 15, the last paragraph. Right Honourable Speaker directed the chairman and other members of the parliamentary group of the Climate Vulnerability Forum to join the committee. Mr. Speaker, I heard you yesterday when you said that the person, the chairman, Dr. Maf, joined, but I did not hear you say that other members of the Climate Vulnerability Forum should join. So probably if we can get clarity on the matter, what exactly you said, because I did not hear the other part of it. Thank you, sir.
Yes, please.
Speaker, I think my colleague is right. It was specific to the chair, and you indeed went ahead to mention the chair's name, that the Honourable Mafo should be the one to join the committee. So the minority leader is right.
Table office, kindly take note. It's only the chairman of the group, not an other members group.
If you may indulge me, I think I know much about this group, and Speaker, if it's not injurious, I want to humbly suggest to you that for all the period I've known this group, Honourable Mafo has been working with Honourable Yusuf. So, Speaker, if it pleases you, it should rather be the chair, which is Honourable Mafo, and Honourable Yusuf joining the group to embark on this function. So that it becomes Yusuf, Honourable Yusuf, and Honourable Mafo joining the group. The two of them have been working together. So, your kind indulgence.
I can only call on the table office to actually look at my narrative. Is that the two leaders said my narrative was restricted to a chairman? That's why I decided to go by it. But I said leadership, particularly the chairman. And so they should look at the narrative as captured official reports. Definitely it will be more than the chairman, not only the chairman. But now, the stage in which we are, I cannot get a narrative. Let them cross-check and we'll see what the situation is. Maybe it's captured your concern and we don't need to do that. But we are correcting what actually took place. So I cannot now do correction of minutes by adding something to what I never said. So let's go by that. With this, honourable members, the votes and proceedings of the 24th sitting held on Tuesday, 21st March 2023, as corrected, are adopted as the true record of proceedings. We have, I should say I have, a copy of the official report of 27th July 2022. I hope members have copies. With that, we proceed. Any correction? Yes, the honourable member for Kwadaso.
Honourable Speaker, on column 13, the second paragraph, Mr. Mesa. The Speaker, indeed, every year the government carries out electrification. The Y should be changed to I. E-L-E-C-R-I-F-I, not F-Y. Thank you.
You said column 13.
Column 13 at the top where we have Mr. Mesa. Mr. Mesa. So it says, Mr. Speaker, indeed, every year the government carries out electrification. There is a Y there, but that Y should be I.
Oh, yes, yes.
Thank
you are
you.
right. Please, table office, take note and inform Hansard. Any further correction? Honourable members, the official report of Wednesday, 27 July 2022, as corrected, represents the true record of proceedings. We will now move on to urgent questions. Urgent questions. We invite the Minister for Environment, Technology and Innovation to take the appropriate seat. So, 5A, there's an urgent question standing in the name of the member for Medina, Honorable Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu. Honorable member, you may ask now.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Good. Mr. Speaker, the Minister is not
taking advantage or not?
Mr. Speaker,
I'll
take
to
advantage.
ask your question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation the measures being taken by the Ministry to achieve right to clean air, considering that the air is considered unhealthy and harmful by the Environmental Protection Agency.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to provide a response to the questions posed by Honorable Sosu and consequently Honorable Tete. I know she's going to ask me a question. And I proceed as follows. The environmental protection is under my ministry responsible for regulating air quality in the country. There are two main sources of air pollution, natural and anthropogenic. Pollution from the natural sources, that is sea salt, wind-blown dust, dust from the Sahara Desert, especially during the Harmattan season, are not possible to control. And require the use of pollution masks to reduce impact on the individual. Mr. Speaker, studies conducted in the country indicate that air pollution from unfriendly sources includes emission from transport, that's vehicular emissions, and industry, or designated as industrial emissions, and activities such as open burning of waste and other materials, bush burning, use of inefficient traditional cook stoves, dust emissions from roadsides, and untarred surfaces. So, Speaker, the EPA, that is the Environmental Protection Agency, as part of its monitoring activities, has established an ambient temperature or ambient air quality monitoring network in Accra and has been monitoring pollutants including particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and ground level since the year 2005. Mr. Speaker, results of the monitoring indicated that low concentrations of the gases have indicated that there are low concentration of the gases monitored. Monitoring activities are therefore concentrated on particulates and with occasional checks on the gases. We haven't taken our eyes off the gases exactly. The Accra Monitoring Network comprises of the following. 1. 5 reference monitors, high volume samplers located in industrial areas. 2. Commercial. There are 5 reference areas, I'll take it again. And 2 are located in industrial areas, 1 in commercial area, and 2 are in residential areas. Then there are 10 equivalent monitors, which we designate as mini volume samplers at 10 selected roadside monitoring locations. And there are 2 federal equivalent monitors, officially known as Teledyne T640 and McGee Scientific AE33. And these monitors and corresponding 2 weather stations are installed at Adabraka and University Campus to monitor this particulate matter, together with black carbon and meteorological parameters such as temperatures, relative humidity, wind speed, and direction. And these are done in real time. Mr. Speaker, a network of 6 low-cost sensors, LCS we call them, are established in Accra to complement the gravimetric sites that I have mentioned already. And beside the monitoring network in Accra, the agency has also established a network of 6 such LCS in each 6 in 5 cities: Sekondi, Takoradi, Tamale, Tema, O, and Kumasi, to collect baseline data on particulate matter. Particulate levels recorded are converted to air quality index to provide information on how the air quality impacts health. The air quality index calculated, for example, for the University of Ghana monitoring site between 17 to 24 February is in 2023, not 2025. Indicated red, which is unhealthy, and purple, which is very, very unhealthy. And based on this, the EPA held a press conference and issued a press reform and advised the public to take certain precautionary measures. The high levels were due to the Harmattan season and transportation of dust from the Sahara regions, which was attributed, this information was attributed to the Meteorological Agency within this period. The levels have since abated with the onset of the rains. Mr. Speaker, EPA continued to post a daily air quality index from the University of Ghana monitoring location on its social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, and website for the general public. The calendar plot air quality from the University of Ghana are in a chart shown below. Unfortunately, I cannot use this podium to display the chart. But if I may continue, Mr. Speaker, as part of the interventions in the transport sector, the EPA has collaborated with the Kwame Nkrumah of Science and Technology, the University of Vermont in the USA, and then CSI Building and Road Research Institute and other stakeholders, and carried out traffic-driven modeling of vehicular emissions using what we call the COPE3 method in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, and this has been done over the years, particularly between 2006 and 2007. In this study, data on vehicular speed, mileage, fleet population, fuel consumption, quality, temperature were used as input into traffic-based COPE3 model to generate vehicular emissions over 5 years. And this study was followed by actual measurements of emissions from exhaust pipes of vehicles in Accra in year 2008. The results from this study has been used as an input in the Ghana standard for vehicular emissions. In 2011, the DVLA started a pilot program to include emissions testing in the annual roadworthiness certificate, and on our vehicular testing centers established spaces of the DVLA were permitted EPA to have emission testing equipment. Environmental audit conducted testing centers indicated that most of them had motor testing equipment, but were not being used due to lack of the required legal backing. Mr. Speaker, in year 2014, the national specifications for minimum sulfur content in diesel was reduced from 5,000 parts per million to 3,000 ppm. Along Nigeria and other members of the ECOWAS, Ghana was to meet the AFRI4 fuel specification of more than 50 parts per million or lower by 2020. And I'm quoting the Abidjan Agreement of 2009. Ghana has since 2011 published and implemented a new sulfur standard of 50 million in fuel. And as raised with the elimination of lead in gasoline, lower sulfur in fuel will improve our fuel economy, engine performance and durability, and at the same time improve roadside air quality and public health. Mr. Speaker, in the industrial sector, business undertakings, that's manufacturing, mining, petroleum facilities, and so on, that generate air emissions are led by the EPA's permitting regime of the environmental assessment regulations to institute appropriate air pollution prevention, control, and mitigation measures, including the installation of the appropriate pollution control systems, such as filters, scrubbers, and so on, and also to monitor both point source and stack emissions and fence line and ambient air quality monthly and report the results to the agency quarterly. For road construction, the requirements including dousing the untarred surfaces with water, grassing, paving, and sweeping dust from the roads. And to ensure installation and effective operation of the pollution control systems, Mr. Speaker, compliance monitoring and inspections are conducted at these undertakings. Periodic monitoring is also conducted at these facilities to cross-check the data submitted by the agency. Where the levels are above the standard, the industries are made to institute specific interventions to ensure compliance. In default, the facilities are given enforcement notices to stop operating the particular activity from which the pollution emanates until the problem is. Mr. Speaker, training and awareness creation workshops have also been organized to train industry representatives on the EPA requirements, including best practices and in education on the Ghana standards. Mr. Speaker, to ensure effective regulation of air pollution in the country, the EPA, in collaboration with Ghana Standards Authority and other relevant stakeholders, developed and published the following standards that relate to air quality. 1. Ghana Standard for Environment and Health Protection. Requirements for ambient air quality. Endpoint source / status. That GS 1236, which was promulgated in 2019. And 2, Ghana Standard for Environment and Health Protection. Requirements for motor vehicle emissions, that's 2019, also GS 1219, done in 2018. The standards were developed using data gathered from the agency's routine ambient air quality monitoring activities, emission inventories, self-reported monitoring by regulated undertakings, and academic research. In addition, operations to facilitate effective enforcement of the standards are being developed as I speak now. Mr. Speaker, on meeting for air pollution from area sources such as household cooking fuel, these are complemented by programs by other state institutions such as the Ghana Energy Commission, National Petroleum Authority, Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, non-governmental organizations, researchers and third-party funders. And these include replacement of traditional cool stoves with more efficient cool stoves. Example is Japan. And use of liquefied petroleum gas as clean fuel to replace biomass. Campaigns designed to raise awareness of the health risk of the air pollution from traditional cook stoves have also been mounted. And the empowerment of women and children who unfortunately experience the highest levels of exposure have been has been done. And also we've entreated them to be advocates for clean cooks in their communities. And then, of course, we have been creating awareness on the effect of open burning in the general quality. Mr. Speaker, other interventions being implemented to ensure air quality in the country include 1. Air quality management plan, and to help reduce particulate matter concentrations in the... Mr. Speaker, I believe I have to end here because I noticed that the second question has not been asked. Thank you.
Honorable members, in view of the importance of the subject matter and the fact the minister, in trying to answer the question, has submitted a thesis, I encourage the first deputy speaker, who is going to take over the chair, to permit members to ask more than 3 supplementary questions. Because it's a long thesis that needs to be interrogated. I don't know why the minister decided to do so, but I'm sure he's trying to draw the attention of the whole public, not just members of parliament, to the state of the environment in the country and what we could all do to support. I anticipate that is the purpose of the answer. It's very long. And I encourage the Hansard office to capture the table, which he couldn't read. That was quite copious. So, First Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Honourable Member, you may start with your first supplementary.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to ask more than 3 supplementary questions. Honourable Minister, in your answer, you made reference to the fact that effective enforcement of the standards now being developed. Because you had given us a number of standards that have been established to secure air quality in Ghana, but went ahead that the enforcement or the effective enforcement of the standards are yet to be developed. How soon are we going to have a piece of legislation or standard that can enforce all the beautiful regulations that we put in place for purposes of securing air quality? And I'm asking that because in all the answers that you provided, there was nowhere that have penalties for people who are violating the collective air that we breathe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, how soon? I cannot give timelines, but suffice to say that even we have indicated to this House that the EPA law, the basic law, is coming for a review. So the law itself will be overhauled, and I believe that some of the consequential airlines and other inferior, steps that are consequential to it, not inferior, will then be addressed. So yes, actually we have taken steps. But this thing is historical. Air quality issues is even, really speaking, a new phenomenon. And even in the developed world, the way they've reacted to it by legislation and others, in relative sense, is even a new phenomenon. So we are not too far away. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I would want to know from the Honourable Minister. He made reference to various sectors of our economy that generate pollution. Do you have any penalties currently, particularly against industry players whose activities contribute more pollution to air quality in Ghana?
Mr. Speaker, I believe this, you can infer from the question, my previous answer, that we do not have we do have penalties within the arm of the laid down procedures of the EPA. You see, these air quality issues do not even arise de novo. Usually, they come in tandem with other infractions. But for specifically teasing out air quality issues, I'm not aware of any penalties. But I tell you, when we take steps to address the other issues that are pollution issues, you will realize that a lot of these air quality issues will not even emanate. So that is the answer to you. But that's why we are making haste to specifically address the air quality issue. That's why I've said that the law, even the parent law, is being looked at, and the consequential airlines too are being looked at. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I want to draw the Minister's attention to Article 36(9) of the 1992 Constitution, which actually provides that, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, says that the state shall take appropriate measures needed to protect and save the national environment for posterity. and shall seek cooperation with other states and bodies for purposes of protecting the wider international environment for mankind. Mr. Speaker, just last month, the United Nations General Assembly passed a historic resolution that said that the right to air quality is now a universal human right. Given the fact that air quality issues are now matters of human rights, and also from the I deduce that our areas of monitoring of air quality does not extend to the entire country. Do you have plans of extending the areas of monitoring to cover all the districts and all regions in Ghana?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
So, Speaker, indeed, I couldn't agree with him more. The constitutional injunction include a safeguard, I think Article 49 or 47, even the profound one to protect the environment. But you see, like I've said, this is an emerging phenomenon. So the technology to monitor the air pollution lagged it and lagged behind the problem and capacity. So yes, even now we do not have the full capacity to deploy nationwide. So as for the intention to do what you are suggesting, yes, that is why I'm saying, given in the fullness of time, and I'm talking about maybe a couple of months or years down the line, when we have the capacity, the financial wherewithal, all this is that you are answered, bringing to the fore will be, addressed. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the detailed answers to the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would want to ask the Minister if, given the reports of the effect on air pollution in mental health, can we consider localizing the monitoring, like if where there's serious mining of limestone, for instance, if you come to the Kobo area, there are a lot of mining going on, limestone mining, and the sequential effect is dust all over. And the fact that we don't have the capacity to deploy, can we localize, these monitoring systems so that at least we can monitor activities in these, areas, which will guide us in any decision that we want to take. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think what he's suggesting is very good indeed. But I just want to assure my colleague that I was pleasantly surprised when I went around the mining activities. I can be very specific. Precious Limited at which town is it? Oh, it's in the area, central region. Yes, I am free. They have a very good monitoring system, voluntary, installed. And you see, the monitoring treatment are even done in collaboration with the community. In other words, those who respect and monitor include members of the community of Ayamfre. So it looks like a lot of them have even gone, they have anticipated. I cannot say all the mining companies are doing that, but it was a very, very pleasant surprise to me. And that they had courted the community to participate in the monitoring of particulate matter in the atmosphere. Thank you very much.
Very well. It does appear there's no further follow-up question on this one. So I'll move on to question number 5B. In the name of the Honourable Member for Wutu Senior West, Ms. Gisela Tete Agutwi.
you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation the efforts being taken by his ministry to monitor and maintain air quality standards in Ghana. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, our interventions to monitor and ensure that there is quality in the country include a management plan and to help reduce the particulate matter concentrations in Accra. For example, the EPA, in collaboration with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and other stakeholders, developed and started and implementing an air quality management, AQMP they call it, for the Greater Accra Metropolitan area as far back as 2018. The plan is aimed at reducing air emissions with its attendant environmental and health effects within Ghana's Greater Accra Metropolitan area and is being reviewed to cover the whole region, Greater Accra region. 2. Enactment of Hazardous and Electronic Waste Control and Management Act of 2016. That's Act 917. And the Hazardous and Electronic and Other Waste Classification and Management Regulations of 2016. I'm referring to LI 2250. This is to ensure proper management of e-waste and to stop opening burning. Actors in the electronic waste management chain have been trained in proper management and recycling of all recyclable components to prevent burning and also to generate particulate matter into the air. Industries are also required to give their electronic waste to recycling facilities who have the capacity to handle the e-waste. Number 3, fact sheets on air quality is also being developed as one of the measures to create awareness. Mr. Speaker, the following are some activities aimed at ensuring air quality standards. 1. Implement the AQMP for Greater Accra region in collaboration with the assemblies and identify states as I've referred in the previous. Build the capacity of the MMDAs on air quality standards. 3. Replicate the development and implementation of AQMP in other districts in the country using the location-specific baseline data. 4. Expand the air quality monitoring networks in the country. 5. Ensure compliance with ambient air quality and point source emissions limits prescribed in the GS 1236 by the permitted undertaking. And then 6. Complete drafting of regulations for improved air quality and motor vehicle emissions. Thank you.
Yes, your follow-up questions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister gave a lengthy answer to the previous question. So, some of his, there may be some points in the answer to the previous question. So, if you don't mind, I may overlap with the two. I want to know what collaboration is being undertaken between technical universities and tertiary institutions to be able to monitor the air quality. You indicated that the mining company does it voluntarily, and it seems that you have issues with financial wherewithal to be able to undertake much better monitoring. I want to know what collaborations you've done with the universities so far, and can the engineering departments assist in having cheaper ways of monitoring air quality? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, there are lots of collaboration with other agencies, so that it's very difficult even for me to single out one. But to hone in on these technical universities. I'm happy to announce, for example, University of Renewal, what do you call it? It's not a technical university, but university, and one at Sunyani. Even only last week or two, we went there and then implemented an equipment which could actually measure in real time carbon capture in the atmosphere in some of the forest reserves. I believe it must be the Tano, Ehuro, or Bia Forest Reserve. I believe so. My memory fails me here. But I believe there have been a lot of collaboration. For example, the Power Grant University in Takwa, for example, is hands and everything into this kind of endeavor. So my simple answer is that there are loads of collaboration indeed. Some of them are the feeders for these projects to our agencies. So that's all I can answer for now.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Minister. So since there are lots of collaborations, when will these go and filter down to the district assemblies, district, municipal and metropolitan assemblies? I'm saying this because, sir, you gave an indication of what was being done in Greater Accra region. But there are 16 regions. There are 16 regions in Ghana. I believe that the air quality measurement should be, the standard should cut across for all. So what is now being done for them, and how will this, as you have just indicated, opportunities are, efforts are being made by the universities, how will those now be dovetailed to the district for us to benefit from air quality standards measurements and so on?
Yes, and I will.
Speaker, I believe because the two questions are interrelated, I virtually answered this question. I'm saying that we are constrained only by finance and capacity and all that. And even for the developed world, this is an emerging phenomenon and the technology has lagged behind the issue. So I can assure you that even as I stand here, we are deploying either by the EPA or agency, but by the polluters themselves, because we like I told you about Perseus Miner Ghana Limited, and even the old mine at Obuasi, they have all put in place systems that ensures ethics. I am very, because I've been there, I've seen it, myself. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, this question came about because on 21st February, we all woke up to a very hazy environment, and there were indications online that the air quality on that day was classified as yours. Do you think that there's enough public education? Are you satisfied with the level of public education, or you think the ministry and their implementing agencies could do much better to give the necessary education to the public? Because having that, we had to go online to see what hazardous levels meant. And do you think you are doing enough in that area of public education?
Yes. Mr. Speaker, phenomena that happened on 23rd February, while it's not unique, was quite unique. Let me explain. It's a phenomenon which happens worldwide, and in fact, particularly areas that border the Sahara. Phenomena only about a month ago had effect even in the southeastern areas of USA. So dust storms from the Sahara goes as far as the Amazon to places like Florida and the Carolinas, and then also in Spain and even the UK. Why in my principal response, the first response, I said that these are natural phenomena which sometimes get exaggerated, exacerbated, and we believe that the climate change has something to do with that. That one, public awareness is the key. We have to educate the people. We experienced that phenomenon. I must say that every year the Harmattan brings dust, but this particular one was overly above a natural situation. So during that time, including the Harmattan time, we urge people to put down their mask. Now that we have a mask wearing culture in this country, it's one of the things that COVID is leaving us that I will urge everybody to embrace. Culturally speaking, it wasn't nice to be seen wearing masks even to funerals. Right now, as a minister in charge of environment and also with public ground, I will urge that we embrace that phenomenon and not let it go with COVID that we have virtually reduced into a disease of non-public health concern. But some of the attributes and things that we learned can be very, very helpful. One thing that I can give free of charge advice is that during the COVID time, a lot of respiratory disease, we go to Ghana Health Service data, they recorded very, very, very minimum infection rates. So we should embrace the culture of wearing masks, especially in industry situations. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to find out from the Honourable Minister if his ministry is considering what other jurisdictions are doing, like the United States of America recently passing the Clean Air Act. A number of jurisdictions are specifically passing Clean Air Acts that control emissions from factories, steel plants, and other industrial zones. Is that something the ministry is considering or will probably look at in terms of best practice moving forward for adoption as a country? I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Indeed so. But, Mr. Speaker, that is why I'm saying his question answers a question. This phenomenon has been seen long time. But you see, because of technology, even the great United States, this is when they are bringing their legislation. That's why we are not far behind. We used to think that some of these things we are behind. No, we are not. But we have an opportunity, and I will urge members to pay particular attention when we are bringing PA, I think it's been listed. I will urge members to take keen interest in this so that they can input into this, that the ideas that you are bringing can be discussed, and those things that have practical application, you can apply them. Because what you are saying is absolutely correct. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the last question by Honourable Gisela Tete Abutui was that the education of the populace, for them to allay their fears and to educate them on what to do. I think that was what the import of the question was, but they addressed that. Thank you.
So what is your question?
My question is, what kind of education should we be having? And what can we do as members of parliament? What can the NCCE do? What can the radios and televisions do for us so our people get to know that what you're saying is the situation, so people don't worry the MPs as much as they do? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, my answer is straightforward. First, let's educate ourselves. Let's get to the nature of the problem, what is available and what cannot, what can be done now, what cannot be done. I'm sure members here, like I've said, a lot of things that are being done, they might not even be aware, by the EPA and other agencies. And number two, if I dare say so, Mr. Speaker, let's reduce the amount of quality time in debating MPP, NDC issues and use them to address this is yes.
Yeah. Are you on your? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, a follow-up to the Honorable Ablakwe's question. Mr. Speaker, question is also an opportunity for ministers to go back on government policy. Is it the policy of the Nana Addo Dankwa government and you as Minister for Environment, Ghana is considering an air quality bill? Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, because of the EPA Act, we have said notice that. And I will say that if there are gaps in, the various committees and individuals can input into it. After all, when we bring a bill, it will then be in your hands. You can turn it into even a different animal. Is that not so, Mr. Speaker? Thank you.
Very well. There are two more urgent questions for the Minister of Education. But there are a number of questions for the Minister for Environment. So I'll let you continue the regular question so that when the Minister of Education takes the seat, you will not go and come back. So kindly let's continue from. So the question number 1188 in the name of the Honourable Member for Akan. Yeah, Gomado, you may ask your question now.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, these questions has been already asked and they have provided the answer. So,
very well. Thank you very much. I'll proceed. The Honourable Member for Gomoa West, Mr. Richard John. The next question is in your name. 1543.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation the status of wetlands in Ghana and what measures are in place to improve the functioning of the ecosystem of wetlands in Ghana.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Just a moment, Mr. Speaker. I'll be with everybody. Okay. Wetlands constitute some 10% of Ghana's total area of 23.9 million hectares. 6 of the wetlands been designated as Ramsar sites under the Ramsar Convention, and these sites are managed by the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission. The remaining wetlands managed by the metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies within which they fall. The Environmental Protection Agency has an interest in the management of these wetlands and consider them as potential buffer for destructive excess water from rains and other sources. The wetlands over the years have gone through ecosystem transitions driven by climatic variability and human anthropogenic activities. Climate change has impacted negatively on the wetlands ecosystems through perennial droughts and floods, and this has altered the species and habitat dynamics of the wetlands. Anthropogenic activities such as fragmentation, ecosystem conversion, overexploitation of wetlands resources, encroachment into critical and sensitive habitats have led to the degradation of these wetlands. Mr. Speaker, continuous and excessive resource exploitation has a negative impact on biodiversity, and the quantity and quality of species and their habitats have been compromised and are being compromised. This is affecting the wetland ecosystem. Mangroves, which are water plants that dominate most of the ecosystem of our coastal wetlands, have been also degraded. However, they have all been highly exploited for diverse uses, and the habitats are threatened by, like I've said, natural and anthropogenic activities. 120 hectares of mangrove species have so far been planted by the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission and to restore degraded wetlands ecosystems. Some creek channels that interconnect the marshy habitats and support aquatic life have been desilted to enhance the natural regeneration of existing mangroves and development of restored ones. Mr. Speaker, there are existing regulations in place to ensure proper management of wetlands in Ghana, and these include Wetlands Management, that's Ramsar Sites Regulation of 1999, LI 1659, the Wildlife Reserve Regulations of 1971, LI 710, and the Wildlife Conservation Regulations of 1971, LI 685. In addition, MESTI, through the EPA, has drafted the Coastal and Marine Habitats Management Regulations to protect, enhance, and restore the quality of coastal zones in Ghana. The Ministry is also in the process of ratifying the additional protocol on sustainable mangrove management. That's the Calabar Protocol, and I have it on authority that it's been approved by Cabinet and it will be coming to this House. And this is under the Abidjan Convention. MEST is again working with the Ministry of Finance to secure funding from the World Bank to implement the West Africa Coastal Area Program, that's WACA program, which will support the restoration and conservation of wetlands as well as support blue carbon activities. Mr. Speaker, of the regulations and legislations mentioned above, the Ministry together with others have a bag on continuous awareness on conservation in schools, communities in the wetland and their catchment areas. Information and prohibitive signboards have been produced and erected in sensitive, critical, and fragile zones of the wetlands. Information on the wetlands ecosystem and values are transcribed in brochures, posters, leaflets to improve knowledge and increase awareness. Radio discussions and interactive programs have also been held to share information on environmental days. Mr. Speaker, we must bear in mind that our ecosystems are a true reflection of our mindsets. So, Speaker, I want to emphasize this. Our ecosystems is a true, that our ecosystems reflect our mindsets, because even intuitively, without going to school, science, everything, every Ghanaian knows the value of wetlands. Unfortunately, we have decided to destroy the wetlands, and I therefore wish to call on all states, government agencies, my colleague MPs, MMDCs, academia, CSOs, private sector, to ensure that the protection of wet ecosystems, which provide environmental ecosystems, quality systems, services for us, are left alone and improved so that we can live a healthier and wealthier life. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable, you may ask your questions.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to find out from the Minister, in his response, he indicated that some of the Ramsar sites, the wetlands have been designated as Ramsar sites. First, it's been managed by the various assemblies. I want to find out from him if they have any collaborative they are doing with the assemblies to ensure that such wetlands are well protected?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, management of wetlands are intersectorial management. So the mandate actually spans from MESTI, lands and natural resources, local governments. The boundaries are just operational boundaries. So it's a spectrum. So yes, there are a lot of collaboration between all these institutions. Unfortunately, that's why my statement, if you paid attention to it, we know the value of wetlands. It is just land hunger in urban settings and certain areas. Just some people deliberately encroach, fill wetlands and convert them to other uses. It's not as if they do not appreciate their value. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to find out if the ministry has done any assessment on the measures he has outlined in his response to see how efficient or the efficacy of the measures they are put in place.
Yes, Honorable Minister. You're not clear on the question.
So, Speaker, if I understood well, that have we done audit and perhaps assessment about the efficacy of our strategies and for implementation? If that is that, I can answer.
Yes, Honorable, is that your...
I said I want to find the measures you outline, if you've been assessing its efficacy to see whether it is a desired results.
Obviously, Mr. Speaker, from my own answer, it's not giving desired results. And it's been something which has been in the Ghanaian, public space for a long time, encroachment and all that. Weak enforcement regimes, recalcitrant Ghanaians, forgive me if my words are very sharp, but that is it. You go enforcement. But we've done a lot of education. People are aware. That one we know. And yet, like Galam say, that is what we are facing. So your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
I just want to bring to his attention that some of these wetlands, which are not yet designated as Ramsar sites, we have some, especially in my constituency, Bomwa West, Apam. We have some wetlands there. And currently, such places are being used as a dumping site. And I think it's much of a concern. So I'm bringing it to the attention that if they can identify such sites and then to those places. Thank you.
Very well. I will just notice to you that some lands are being used for dumping sites. So follow up and deal with them. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Zelda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm aware that lands in this country are vested in the President and managed by the Lands Commission on behalf of the state. And all forests are also managed by the Forestry Commission. I find in the answer of the minister that those sites are being managed by the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission. And he continues to say that the remaining wetlands are managed by metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. I want the minister to tell us the basis for metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies managing wetlands. What's the basis? What's the authority?
Yes, Honorable.
First question, the preamble of his question, all lands vested in the President Well, I'm not too sure about that. Lands. But environment, yes. But it depends upon definition. Not easy. Because we have two lands for that. Number two, Ramsar site. If you look at the preamble to my response, form about quite a significant, close to 11% of Ghana's surface area. And did I say wetlands, not Ramsar sites? Those that are designated as Ramsar sites, they are designated by certain definitions, certain criteria. For example, Sokumono is host to certain migrated species of birds, sometimes emanating as far as the Nordic countries. That is why we agreement that those sites should be taken off, so they are managed like strict forest reserves. But the other areas which form in a human habitat, then that one, because they are localized, that's why it's shared mandate. They are managed by MMDC, the municipal, yes, MMDCs. So that is how, so that's why I'm saying that some of these specific questions, maybe Minister Abu Shuru, Lands and Natural Resources, should be here to come and answer the question. But I will take charge because EPA, MESTI through EPA, is the chief enforcer. So I've even said somewhere that Forestry Commission and in essential Wildlife Division, they do not do their work well. It should be possible even to take them to court by the EPA. I've said that. Very provocative statement. So Speaker, the point I want to make is it's a chain of custody. And for some of them that don't have any international significance and we've not signed agreement with partners outside of the borders of Ghana. Those that we signed agreement, they are on our wildlife. Those that are internal to that is where EPA and then the, what we call it, assemblies and whatnot are possible. But if you look at the law, it is a chain of custody. So if you have a Ramsar site and it's in Greater Accra and it's being managed by the Wildlife Division, doesn't mean that even the assembly should not be interested. Sometimes enforcement, you have to use even local government agencies to enforce. So the question is, you are correct, but if you want to do sharp delineation, then maybe you have a point. Otherwise, that is my answer to it.
Yes, Honorable.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister has presented a number of interventions being carried out. But I noticed that the Honorable Minister is silent on the wetlands, the Ramsey wetlands in the capital, which was encroached. The regional minister indicated that they will carry out some exercise. I think he started, but he has not completed to the best of my knowledge. I want to find out if there is some interface, some cooperation between your ministry and the Greater Accra Regional Minister's outfit, and what is being done to protect, salvage what is left of the wetlands in the capital. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the answer is very simple. Indeed, very much so. We are in collaboration with the Greater Accra in view of what I've already said. We are in collaboration with them.
Very well. Honorable Minister, we thank you for attending upon the House to answer our questions. You are discharged. Now, the Honorable Minister has 2 urgent questions and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are no questions. I was going to... Sorry, yes.
Speaker, I think I'm trying to speak to the same thing I was anticipating that you were going to draw attention to. I have 2 questions designated for Minister for Tourism, and all the other questions are for the Minister for Education. I related to my colleagues. I want to seek your indulgence if we could just dispense of those for tourism. 2 questions, and then we can the rest of the time to the Education Minister. So with your leave.
That was what I was coming to, that I'll give the opportunity to the Minister for Tourism to take his two questions out, and then the Education can take the rest of the day. Yes. Now, the 2 questions are all in the name of the member for Keta, the Kwame Jujoli Gape. Honorable member for Keta. Very well. Where's the authorization?
Speaker.
You don't even know that he's not in the chamber. You are looking around for him. Very well. You may.
Speaker, thank you for the leave to ask for the honorable member for Keta. Mr. Speaker, I ask the Minister for Education, Tourism. Okay. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture the plans put in place to develop the following sites at Keta and Anglo constituencies: Fort Byzantine, Atoko, Slave Market, Cape St. Paul Lighthouse. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, forts and castles in the Volta, Greater Accra, Central and Western regions of Ghana are some of Ghana's unique heritage sites on the prestigious World Heritage List inscribed by UNESCO in 1979. These 28 forts and castles, Mr. Speaker, which are World Heritage sites, are surely listed. This means that whatever affects one site affects all. Equal attention, therefore, must be given to all sites so that we maintain our position on the UNESCO World Heritage List. So the state of Fort Byzantine will not be disadvantaged as compared to other sites. However, the story of Fort Byzantine cannot be told without mentioning the Atoko slave. The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture is developing a national strategy which will prioritize all commercially viable tourist sites in Ghana for development. The World Bank funded tourism development project has already identified Fort Byzantine and other tourist sites in the Keta enclaves, which have been earmarked for inclusion in the national development strategy. The Minister of Culture would organize a tourism investment summit this year to encourage private sector participation in tourism development. So, Speaker, all the lighthouses along the coast are managed by the Ghana Ports and Harbours. Cape St. Paul Lighthouse inclusive. The Ghana Ports and Harbours has stationed a caretaker officer at the Cape St. Paul Lighthouse who assists tourists who desire to visit the lighthouse. Regarding the Atoko slave market, Speaker, this is captured under the slave trade heritage site routes put into the Ghana Tourism Development Project. Under this, the consultancy firm will review the existing conditions at selected slave trade heritage sites in Ghana and make proposals for their improvement. Creation and interpretation of sites like Atoko is important not only for our collective memory as a people, but to also provide points of engagement and recognition with the African diaspora, who constitute a major segment of the international tourist traffic to Ghana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Minister for the responses. I agree that the lighthouses are managed by Kapoha, but given the historical importance that it has, was constructed in 1784, the same year that they constructed Fort Byzantine. So, given the historical importance of this monument, I think that the ministry will not be out of place if you assist in rehabilitating, especially the lighthouse. The lighthouse actually sits on my great-great-great-great-grandmother's land in Way, in Cape St. Paul, and it's deteriorating. So will you consider assisting Gakoha to rehabilitate the lighthouse to attract more tourists because of the historical value it has? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we will work in collaboration with the Ports and Harbours Authority to rehabilitate and fix it to attract more tourists. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, Administer, regarding the efforts to rehabilitate Fort Pilsenstein, may we have some timelines, whether that can start this year or next year, so that people can appreciate the level of operations and exactly when the interventions to save the port can begin in terms of timelines.
Mr. Speaker, we have a master plan which is supposed to start at the last quarter of 2023. So hopefully next year we should be fixing all the areas that we are marked for development. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is a double-barreled one. The fourth paragraph of the Honourable Minister's response, he states, and I quote, developing a national strategy which will prioritize all commercially viable tourist sites in Ghana. My question is, can you please throw some light on how you make the determination? What is the criteria of identifying this commercially viable sites? The commercial viability question. What criteria are you using so that for the elucidation of the House? And then, Mr. Speaker, the last but one paragraph. The Honourable Minister.
We are entitled to one question, please. Let me answer that one.
Yes. That's why I said it's a double barrel.
If you are containing the same question, I will allow it, but you have already asked one. Yes, please.
Okay, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we have a consultant working on that, and they are experts in it. So they get all the information. Then we'll have a stakeholder engagement before we know what to do. But the consultants, experts, they determine what is commercially viable. Then we engage all stakeholders, including the people of that area, before we can look at. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Now with number 1201. Yes, Honorable.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Tourism as a core plans the ministry has to promote tourism in respect of various traditional dances and cultural performances. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the National Festival of Arts and Culture is one of the flagship programs implemented by the Ministry through the National Commission on Culture. It's a biannual celebration to promote various Ghanaian cultural festivals in all the 16 regions of the country, where days are specifically dedicated to showcase the artistic and dancing prowess of the various regions. Indeed, the latest was held in November 2022 in Cape Coast, where almost all the various dance types of the nation were displayed. The Ministry intends to put in the needed investment to ensure sustainability and wider patronage among the various communities. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry will catalog all various traditional dance and performance of the various ethnic groups of the country and categorize them into specific geographical boundaries to promote inter-regional competition akin to the Sports Festival Gala, where the winning region will keep the trophy and be defending champion until another season of the same event. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, we intend to organize dance workshops that will promote traditional dance forms, the history and meaning behind all the traditional dance forms. Also, capacity building and will be organized for the artists to enhance their skills to prepare them for the world market. Foreigners and Africans in the diaspora will have the opportunity to learn their preferred dances through the use of technology and the ministries and its agencies. Also, we engage domestic and international partners to drive the agenda of showcase Ghana's dance and cultural performance through Ghana's missions abroad. For Mr. Speaker, we intend to organize street performances from selected second and tertiary institutions in the country with a view to promoting and unearthing potentials in the Ghanaian youth whilst preparing them for the international market. Center for National Culture offices in all the 6 regions of the country were expected to champion the drive to ensure the realization of the initiative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. Speaker, I thank the Minister for the responses in respect of this question. I know for a fact that the School of Performing Arts, University of Ghana, teaches a cultural dance as well as other exotic dance forms. So, and I know there's a department, now it's a School of Tourism and Hospitality at the University of Cape Coast. Given the nature, the multifaceted responsibility of your ministry, would you consider partnering School of Hospitality Studies, that's of Cape Coast, as well as the School of Performing Arts, in respect of this particular product that you seek to develop for purposes of promoting our tourism in Ghana?
Yes.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me assure Honourable that we will collaborate with these 2 institutions as well as many other institutions to ensure the promotion of Ghana's dances and cultural assets. Thank you so much.
Speaker, finally, if the Minister in his answer indicated the intent to reintroduce cultural dance and performance competition. When we were in school those days, it featured on the calendar every term. So we prepared and competed amongst ourselves as to best dance groups and dance forms and all. I see that you want to introduce it. But the introduction, you are not including the schools. You mentioned secondary and tertiary. I want to urge you to consider including the schools. Sometimes best dancers are found at that level of our educational system. So include the best. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Honourable Member for this suggestion. We'll consider that. I'm grateful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Thank you for attending upon the House, Honourable Minister, discharged. Now, the Honourable Minister for Education may take your seat. Question number 5C is in the name of the Honourable Idrisa Dumase, Honourable Mohammed Brahma. Yes.
Speaker, with respect, leadership has related appropriately. And to that end, we want to respect your office. We want to rather go on and take item 2 on the UNESCO bill as a motion, second reading. Take that one. And also item 27, the Criminal Offences Amendment Bill, also as second readings. We are particularly in the face of discussion that we've had with the Speaker on the delay of these bills. And since they are just on the principle as a second reading, we can deal with these 2 bills, after which we'll come and finish the questions advertised in the name of the Minister for Education.
In effect, you are applying for the buying of the order of business. Yes.
That is so.
Minority.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague made a request for us to take the UNESCO bill, and I know some colleagues are also prepared to make contribution to it at a second reading, so we don't have any objection to that. Once the minister can accommodate us and we take the bill quickly and we come back for him to answer the questions, we don't have any objection to that.
Very well, Honorable Minister. You may have a little more. Thank you. At the commencement of public business, item 32, motion by the Minister of Education.
So that the Deputy Minister will take the motion instead.
Yes, Honorable Deputy. Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister. The Minister has asked you to take the motion in his stead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, move that the Ghana Commission for UNESCO Bill 2022 be now read a second time. I so Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion ably moved by the Deputy Minister of Education. And in so doing, I would like to present your committee's report. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana National Commission, UNESCO, Ghana NATCOM. Honorable Speaker, I would like to present excerpts from the report. Files are entry from the Hansa Department to capture the entirety of the report. The Ghana National Commission for UNESCO, NATCOM, started as a committee for UNESCO affairs in 1953, when Ghana became an associate member of UNESCO. Ghana attained full membership of UNESCO on 11 April 1958. Cabinet then approved the constitution of the committee under the name Ghana National Commission for UNESCO. Object of the bill. The object of the bill is to establish the Ghana Commission for UNESCO to carry out the aims and objectives of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. The aim of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that's UNESCO, is to contribute to the building of peace, the eradication of poverty, sustainable development, and intercultural dialogue. Furthermore, Article IV.1 of the Charter of the National Commission for UNESCO requires each member state to provide the National Commission of the member state with a status, structure, and resources necessary to discharge its responsibilities to UNESCO and the member state effectively. Mr. Speaker, the bill consists of 46 clauses. Mr. Speaker, observation. The committee was informed that presently there are 199 national commissions for UNESCO across the world. They constitute a truly global family with an authoritative network of stakeholders, partners, and experts, and offer a comparative advantage to UNESCO within the United Nations system. This network plays a significant role in liaising with partners, coordinating activities, and promoting UNESCO visibility at the country level. Mr. Speaker, to fulfill the requirements of Article V11 of UNESCO's Constitution and Article IV of UNESCO's International Commission is to provide the Commission with a legislative framework. The committee noted that the Ghana Commission lacks a legal framework, Mr. Speaker, compared to similar institutions in other countries. When established as a corporate body, the Ghana Commission for UNESCO will serve as the government's liaison body with respect to UNESCO matters. Mr. Speaker, the committee that when the bill is passed, the Ghana Commission for UNESCO will become a fully fledged government agency and be fully funded from the consolidated fund and other sources of funds identified under Section 38 of the bill. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee, having examined and satisfied itself with the provisions of this bill, recommends the passage of the National Commission for UNESCO subject to the proposed amendment. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Ranking Member.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to support the motion for the second reading of the UNESCO bill as seconded by the chairman of the committee. Mr. Speaker, it is important that Ghana, as a member of UNESCO, will pass a legislation that gives it a legal backing. UNESCO has been functioning as a secretariat for over 60 years now. I think since 1953. That's about 70 years without legislation. So it is that at this time, Mr. Speaker, we support UNESCO to pass and for the Ministry of Education to as well recognize it as one of the agencies that are very, very important in the country. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the functions of UNESCO, you will realize that it has helped the country so much in three important areas. This has to do with education, science, and cultural activities. So it is important that we attach whatever we can do to make sure that the bill is passed. Many may not know that at the international level, Ghana sits on some of these executive bodies of UNESCO. It was not until I had the opportunity to be there that I discovered the role that Ghana has been playing over the years. And there's a need for us to support the bill. Mr. Speaker, what I will urge the Ministry of Education to also do is to make sure that they provide the UNESCO with an office than what they have now. Right now, they are only in a certain corner over there at the ministry. So I will urge the minister to make sure that now that we are going to legal backing to UNESCO, it should promote them, it should give them a better standard as far as their office accommodation is concerned. So I urge members to support the bill. Let us go through it so that we can pass it before the next UNESCO conference in Paris. With that, I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the motion.
Yes.
Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to the motion that the Ghana Commission for UNESCO Bill 2022 be read the second time. And Mr. Speaker, indulge me to raise two major issues. One, I noticed that the Honorable Deputy Minister for Education moved the motion number 32, in the name of the Minister for Education. Mr. Speaker, I note that you accommodate Minister or Deputy Minister, part of the training you want to Deputy Ministers. But Mr. Speaker, it must be stated that once the Minister was in this chamber, the minister ought to have given his authority to the deputy minister, seeking your leave to be able to do that on your behalf, but not when the Honorable Minister for Education is here. Because by our rules, by the Constitution, by the Supreme Court ruling, the Minister for Education is the Minister for Education. So next time, probably, Mr. Speaker, it should be managed in a manner that is proper. It's my first objection. Not objection to the bill, first issue. Then, Mr. Speaker, the second, I have tried to relate to table, and I have tried to relate to the clerk's office. When you go further from page 17, page 18 and 19 of our order paper, Mr. Speaker, you already see advertised. I've fallen victim to it myself. There's even an amendment in my name. Mr. Speaker, I've told table that that is also constitutionally wrong. Once you haven't gone through the second reading of the bill, why are you giving notice of proposed amendments to the bill? Because, Mr. Speaker, virtue of Article 106 of the Constitution, we have a certain minimum requirement to satisfy before a bill matures into act. And one of the major requirements is what we are doing now. At second reading, we debate the policy principles of the bill in order to get the understanding whether members of this August House approve of the bill or not. So when you advert amendment ahead of the second reading of the bill, in my honest view, it offends our standards and offends Article 106 of the Constitution. We are prejudging that the bill already has been approved at second reading by the House when the House has not done so. I just thought that I should raise it. But, Mr. Speaker, I fully support the bill, and I support the initiative of the minister to create a legal framework to support the work of UNESCO in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I recall, and I'm sure the Honorable Arnaud Dompré will recall, at that time, I was thinking him to grow as NUC's President of the National Union of Ghana Students. We benefited from Harry Blavo, who was our respected ambassadors in Paris, France. And UNESCO organized that important forum on financing higher education, at Crossroads. So they have a lot of brilliant ideas where we can borrow to improve government policy, not just for higher education, but even including basic education. So, Mr. Speaker, it's important that we give legal birth to a framework to support the work of UNESCO and to place it under the watch of the Honorable Minister for Education. But along the line, Mr. Speaker, there are some cross-purpose relationship with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Because when you go to Paris and you go to France, our ambassador in France will play the role on behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But it's purely and strictly a matter relating to education, which is under the policy ambit of the Minister for Education. Mr. Speaker, so I wholeheartedly urge members to support the bill. We need the permanent representative of UNESCO in Paris to be able to play those roles. But, Mr. Speaker, you are very good at it. Look at page 3. Page 3, we are not at it, but because you have specialized, it comes to bill. Look at the long title. And actually the Ghana Commission for UNESCO to carry out the aims and objectives. What is aims and objectives? What are the different aims and objectives? If you want to say the purpose, Honorable Rashid Pepo, help me with your purpose, the purpose of UNESCO. So when you say aims and objectives, for my purpose is superfluous. You cannot have aims, you cannot have objectives. And Mr. Speaker, we expected that the committee will report adequately on what UNESCO does. I have gone to their website. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations aimed at promoting world peace and security through international cooperation and education, arts, science, and culture. So that is their purpose. So I have difficulty when you put the long title that way. Then, Mr. Speaker, when you come to the clauses, like clause 5, I know you will direct that we look at it at consideration. Establishment of General Assembly, you have established it. Then you have establishment of executive in clause 11. Then when you get to the secretariat, you refuse to create it as a being. There is no establishment of secretariat. You just say secretariat of the commission. How come that when you wanted the General Assembly and the Executive Committee, you gave birth to them by way of establishment of Executive Committee, establishment of General Assembly? You should also establish the secretariat, because it is also going to be part of the administrative structures you are creating to be able to help you get the functions of the commission performed adequately. So, Mr. Speaker, we are doing what we ought to have done several years back. UNESCO was established somewhere in 1940, and Ghana has benefited enormously from them. Let me conclude, Mr. Speaker, on a controversial note. Every day we are talking about free senior high school. Yes. And I heard Minister, I read on Daily Guide, President Akufo-Addo's record on education and free senior high school. I read you. But Mr. Speaker, I'm concluding that Ghana needs to take advantage of UNESCO's advice on secondary education. How accessible is it? What is the quality? Are we running a secondary education system that produces quantity and not quality? And Mr. Speaker, my contribution point, Ghana needs a means test. A means test to determine who can pay, who cannot pay, and who can pay for education. This political thing of wanting to please everybody at the detriment of quality will harm this country in the next decade if we don't look back. So there are many publications of UNESCO. It's not just meant for Ghana, which is about the means test. In the Speaker, so I end urging members. Why should I, Haruna Idrisu, not pay for my war school? Then my watchman too is not to pay. That creates iniquity, that creates inequality, and that inequality ought to be corrected. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Speaker, I rise to speak in support of the report and the second reading of this all-important bill. Speaker, at the risk of being repetitive, I've listened to my senior colleague, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, who recounts his days as a student leader, speaking the importance of the bill. So I couldn't have agreed more with him. At a point I was wondering why all these while we couldn't think about this piece of legislation, because of the length of time that this country has associated and has had a relationship with UNESCO. So I can only commend the ministry for expedited work done. The object of the bill is clear, and most importantly, seeking to give leases for the local version of UNESCO in our country. That is the simple basis for this legislation. And I'm happy both sides of the House is speaking in support. So it's going to open lots of opportunities at the international stage. And it's something that we shouldn't have doubt about at all. As to various provisions, clauses, I think that when we get to the consideration stage, we can deal with it in detail. On the free SHS, as senior colleague passed a comment on, I think we must also that it is work in progress. A policy starts from somewhere, it moves to its germination stage until shows. And the minister is a person who is very amenable to very good suggestions. But the thing you cannot take away is the relevance and the importance of the free SHS. which has come to set the stage. Really dealing with the grinding poverty that is confronting the good people of this country. Free SHS has come to stay, and I'm happy today that our colleagues are speaking in unison in support of the free SHS. I think it's a very significant, for me, it's a significant point that all of us should be making. So, Speaker, belabor the point. It's such an important piece of legislation that I cannot overemphasize, and I can only commend the committee for this expedited work done, and definitely speak in motion and encourage members to support the bill as we are know. So it's a very important bill, and I'm very happy that it has come to the House, and we are dealing with it at this stage. So, God, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the motion that the Ghana UNESCO Bill 2022 be now read the second time. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is a member of the United Nations Education, or simply Ghana is a member of UNESCO, having joined as an associate in 1983 and by 1958 attained full membership status. Just Article 7 of the Constitution of UNESCO and Article 4 of the Charter of UNESCO require each member state to provide the National Commission. It is in fulfillment of this legal requirement that the current bill is being introduced, so that we can have Ghana UNESCO Commission as a body corporate to perform the functions as spelled out in clause 3 of the bill. Mr. Speaker, the object of the bill as spelled out in clause 2 thereof is very clear. Mr. Speaker, with the signal, I support the motion at the House to also support the motion.
At the conclusion of the debate, the question is all in favor of the House adopting the motion. Say aye. Aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried.
Okay. Act to establish the Ghana Commission for UNESCO to carry out the aims and objectives of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization and provide for related matters.
The UNESCO Bill 2022 is now read the second time. Yes, Honorable.
With respect, if we may now go on to page 18 and take item 27. Page 18, item 27.
Item 27. Motion by Honorable Minister for Akache South, Bernard Ahiafo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I beg to move that the Criminal Offences Amendment Bill 2021 be the second time. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second the motion. And in so doing, Mr. Speaker, I present the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, I pray that the Hazard Department covers the report in its entirety as I read some of the report and the conclusion. Mr. Speaker, this is a long-standing bill that was laid in this House on the 2nd of August 2021. The committee had met on this, even though it is not voluminous. The committee had met on 3 different occasions on this bill, and we present our report accordingly. Mr. Speaker, the report, this bill is about the fact that some people that attempt to commit suicide currently are being punished under the criminal law. And the proposal is that it is a mental health act and that it must not be as a criminal offense but as a mental health issue. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to read some research findings that the committee had a privilege of being given to them, and I read from part of page 10 to 11. Mr. Speaker, and it's titled, Some Key Research Findings on Suicide in Ghana. According to the survey conducted by the World Health Organization in 2021, 7 persons per 100,000 people, representing 177, and 1,816 male within the general Ghanaian population died by suicide in the year 2019. The committee further noted that research conducted on the prevalence rates of suicidal behaviors in university students in Ghana reveals that 6.3% had attempted suicide, 24.3% when they were dead, 24.3% wish they were dead, and 6.8% had plans to commit suicide. Psychological distress was a risk factor in all cases. Another study to estimate 12-month prevalence rate of suicide attempts among adolescents attending junior high school in Ghana revealed that 27.6% had suicide attempts. Sir Speaker, I will now move on to the other factors, motivations for committing suicide in Ghana, as was found by researchers that assisted the committee during our meetings. The committee gathered that among the key motivations underlying attempted and completed suicides were experience of shame related to loss of economic control, sexual weaknesses, marriage and family problems, poverty and financial difficulties, evasion of dishonor and punishment, health problems, and previous attempted suicide. With specific reference to 21 prosecution cases between 2001 and 2011, the motivations were shame and social stigma because they had been apprehended for varied criminal offenses, placed in police cells, and awaiting further criminal justice processing. Mr. Speaker, it is infidelity that is attributed to some other people is among the reasons why people would commit suicide. 3 defendants among these people to kill themselves because their boyfriends terminated their relationships and they couldn't bear with that. One woman tried to kill herself when her boyfriend denied responsibility for a pregnancy. 2 male defendants were motivated by financial difficulties. One carpenter could not raise money to establish his own workshop, whereas another had had some criminal chronic diseases. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the reasoning, it is the committee came to observation that it is not one group of that are targeted, and all the reasons that are given are mental issues rather than criminal issues. And Mr. Speaker, I go to the conclusion. Now, the committee has examined the provisions of the bill and is of the view that the best remedy to dealing with attempted suicide is to provide avenues in schools, workshops, works, and community centers for distressed persons to vent their emotional problems, seek therapy, and also seek treatment for their mental health challenges. The committee accordingly finds this bill as a crucial legislative measure towards the reformation of Ghana's justice delivery system. The bill, when passed into law, has the potential to contribute to Ghana's efforts of decongesting the prisons and also reducing caseloads on the courts and prosecutors. The committee accordingly recommends to the House to adopt its report and pass the Criminal Offences Bill 2021 into law in accordance with Article 106 of the 1992 Constitution, subject to the amendments proposed by the committee attached as Appendix A. Mr. Speaker, I so support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill is very, very important. And as has been stated, the objective of the bill is to decriminalize attempted suicide. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine people who are going through stress and going through all sorts of problems who attempt to kill themselves and then they end up in jail without treatment, without the necessary help they need? And oftentimes, and as has been stated in the report, every professional, every psychologist have said that the overwhelming number of people who attempt suicide are going through a lot of stress and problems that really requires medical intervention, psychological counseling, and not imprisonment. The object of this bill is to address that and make sure we decriminalize it. Mr. Speaker, what is also important is that it is going to allow people to report people who attempt suicide so that they can get the help. As the law stands right now, if you have a family member who attempts suicide and you report, you know that you are basically to be charged. And he may end up in prison. And so people are reluctant to even report. So clearly this bill is very important. It addresses this issue and hopefully will clear the door for the necessary help, intervention that will be given to people who are going through so much distress. So Mr. Speaker, on that note, I support this bill and I ask members to make sure we pass it to decriminalize attempted suicide. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honourable Member for Wa Central.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to also contribute to the report on this very important bill. Mr. Speaker, those who have had opportunity to read psychology have come across reasons why people sometimes want to commit suicide. They have a transition in their life, and for young people, especially adolescents, facing life for the first time and being compelled by circumstances beyond their control to approach certain of life which they cannot control. The only option left for them is to say that I have failed. Once they get to that point of failure, of inability, of ultimate frustration, the alternative is that they will simply exit the world. The Speaker, for a consistently long time, we have made this a crime for people who have gotten to that position of psychological and mental derangement to say that they are committing a crime, especially when you make an attempt. So it becomes very difficult for us to gauge exactly
what the thinking of the person is, rather than look at him or her, searching into his life, find out what alternatives can be introduced to him or her, and find out what psychological needs can be introduced for her. We simply criminalize it. So this proposed bill that is coming to address this situation is very important. And Mr. Speaker, I support it with all the effort I will have, and will definitely want to contribute to make it the reflection of the want to help those come to the final stage of their lives, and even in their lives want to living on this earth, want to give the bill a lot of momentum so that we can offer consideration to them and help them to rehabilitate themselves and to contribute to society. When people are understood completely, it is the time society itself can come into helping them, and for them to finally see the need to exit that trend of thought. Mr. Speaker, I therefore support the bill, and I want to even commend the individuals who have come together as proud members to project this into the life of the society as a whole. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable. Yes, give me the floor.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for the opportunity. And I'm actually very happy about this bill, more importantly because it's a transformational thing. And it touches on where we are as a nation and how we treat people with mental illness. And in this day and age, this is a very positive, right direction for our country. And it sends a very good signal worldwide that here in Ghana, we are also seriously considering our mental health issues. And I'm of the opinion that this message, in terms of working on this bill, should also hit our police and security services, because largely they usually interact with such people who, fortunately, for the past several years have been behind bars for something that is strictly a medical condition. And I'm very happy that this bill is being processed. And I think that culturally, this would also make it more agreeable for people to discuss their mental health issues, especially when it would not lead to, as it's harassment and unfortunate and untoward mismanagement of mental health issues in the country. And for that, I'm in support and hope that our media relations arm and our media would cover this serious and very important bill and use it as an opportunity to educate the masses, because we're very in terms of our mental health awareness. And I'll use this opportunity once again with your kindness to say thank you. I'm very much in support of this bill.
Very well. Now I'll put the question. I can anticipate what you will say. So, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is: all in favor of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion carried.
An act to amend the Criminal Offences Act 1960 at 29 to decriminalize attempted suicide and provide for related matters.
The Criminal Offences Amendment Act 2021 is hereby read the second time. Now, can we resume the question time? Yes.
Yes, we can indeed. We can now revert to question time. Urgent question, Minister.
Yes, Honorable Minister. You may take your seat now. The first is question number 1201. Oh, no, sorry, question number 5C. In the name of the Honorable Member for Ejura Dumasi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I start, I think my name has been wrongly spelled, and I would like to plead with the table office to take Muhammad is M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D. Muhammad.
Very well.
Yes, I rise to ask the Minister for Education when the Ejura Anglican Senior High School will be provided with a befitting dining hall and kitchen. In view of the fact, improvised structure serving that purpose collapsed on the students during a recent reform, injuring about 8 students of the school.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, Ejura Anglican Senior School is a mixed school located at Ejura in the Ashanti region. On Monday, 6 February 2023, at about 5 p.m., the school was hit by a rainstorm which caused damage to some structures. A technical from the ministry visited the school and noted the following scale of destruction. 1. Collapse of a pavilion dining hall / assembly hall. 2. Rip-off of portions of the kitchen and storerooms roof. Cracks in the gable wall and eaves of newly constructed girls' dormitory block. Rip-off of parts of the roofing sheet of 2-story 12-unit classroom block under construction. Mr. Speaker, the destruction caused injuries to students in the school, of which 2 serious cases were recorded. I've been briefed that more than half of the affected students have been treated and are getting on well with their academic activity. Mr. Speaker, our team recommends construction of a new dining hall and kitchen for the school. The Ministry of Education is very much mindful of the essential nature of these facilities and will consider that once funds are available. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, right now, if you look at the school, and from your own narration, you can see that now they don't have any place that they are, where meals are being prepared and where even the students are fed. In view of the fact that we are entering the rainy season, how do we cope with it? Do you have any plans to at least put up a structure, that is a smaller structure that can house the students, for them to have a place to have their meals?
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, as I've already said, I'm aware of the dire nature of the situation. The team has been on the grounds, and as we annually get fund allocate resources that goes into such emergencies. We are yet to approve the GET fund formula, but we are duly aware. Our team are now looking at drawings and what we need to do immediately funds become available, because we truly understand the serious nature of the challenges facing the school. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm done, except to plead to the minister to ensure that at least we get some emergency funds to get a decent place for us to have their meals.
Very well. The next urgent question is in the name of the Honorable Member for Prestea Huni Valley, Mr. Robert Wisdom Kuju.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Education what efforts the ministry is making to curb the increasing number of community teachers recruited and paid parents in some rural communities in Prestea Huni Valley constituency.
Yes, Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the practice of teachers being recruited and paid by parents in the Prestea Huni Valley constituency is something that is unknown to the ministry. It is an unacceptable practice. The ministry is liaising Education Service to investigate this and ensure that we recruit the acceptable number of teachers so that parents will not be saddled with this responsibility. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this issue throughout my visit to most of the schools, I raised it to the then Education Director last year and even proposed to her that bring in more national service personnel to at least stand in for where we don't have those teachers. So I'm surprised that it is not known to the ministry because, Mr. Speaker, just a kilometer away from any of the principal community in Prestea Huni Valley, made a school with community teachers. Some 8 out of 12 teachers, 5 out of 11 teachers. Just one school, we have 8 community teachers out of 12 teachers. So if Minister is saying that this is the time he's the information, then I'll plead with him that he will speed up to maybe get a solution. Because most of the communities I know, they are qualified, they are professional teachers. So instead of recruiting teachers from the center, and most of them are not to go to those communities, I'm suggesting to Minister if he has the plan to regularize their recruitment because they have accepted to stay in those communities.
I don't know what question or commentary, but I suggest that you meet with him at his office.
That is a suggestion. I want to know whether he has accepted that he's going to regularize these communities, their recruitment, so that they can continue to assist the people.
He's asking whether you're willing those you call community teachers, so that they'll be recruited into your system. The Speaker, the question I have is what are the qualifications of these individuals? But ideally, people who live in the community, who are ready, willing, and able to teach in their own community, should be the first to be recruited. But I'll liaise with my colleague and see that our approach is always to ensure that we can provide the needed resources for communities to thrive. So, Mr. Speaker, I will liaise with my colleague to find out more and how best I can be of help. Our ministry can be of help to solve the challenge that he has well articulated on the floor of this chamber. Very well. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, as the directorate will do their own investigation and give him the data, I'll also follow up and then bring my data to his office as well.
I'll proceed to the question number 269. It's in the name of the Honourable Member for Jirapa, Mr. Cletus Seydou Dapila.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to step down the question because this question was filed in 2021. At the time, the Jirapa Senior High had no vehicle at all. I'm, however, happy about the answers provided by the Minister on page 38. I'm so grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Very well.
I'll proceed to question number 271. The name of the honorable for time, Adam Sulemana.
Mr. Speaker, just like my brother said, my question has been overtaken by time. And I thank the Minister for providing the 66-seater bus for Nkrama Senior High School. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you. Question number 272. The honorable member for Doma West, Sir Vincent Oponga Samoa. Mr. Vincent Oponga Samoa is not here. I'll move to question number 703. Then honorable member for Kankwe South, Mr. Kowa Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Education what strategies the ministry has taken to ensure that the 60-40 sciences to humanities ratio set for the universities in the country is achieved. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the need for more science graduates in the country cannot be overemphasized. This is evident in the growing number of companies and businesses in the sciences and technology value chain. Being cognizant of this, the Ministry of Education strategic plan has also echoed this. Mr. Speaker, at the tertiary level, the Ministry tried to achieve a 60-40 ratio enrollment in the sciences respectively, and this goal was set by 2030. This may be a daunting task. However, I'm happy to inform this House that the ratio of science has since improved from 34 to 66 in 2017-18 to the current, to last year. To ensure the achievement of this target, the Ministry has has established various programs, Mr. Speaker, including the following. We have constructed STEM schools so that we can increase the number of students in the STEM-related fields. We have about 10 STEM schools that has been constructed. Some have been operationalized, will be operationalized next year. Mr. Speaker, we are resourcing existing science labs across the country in various schools. We've introduced innovation to bring more excitement to the teaching and learning of STEM-related subjects in our high schools. Mr. Speaker, with the support of GTEC, Tertiary Education Commission, our pre-engineering program has been introduced, which enables non-science high school graduates to pursue 1-year pre-engineering program, and when they meet the entrance requirement of the universities, they're able to move on to level 100 of engineering programs in selected universities. We also have scholarships and other financial aids to STEM students through Get Fund, for example. In addition to the above, the Ministry envisions the setup of 5 STEM universities across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, any follow-up question, please?
No, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Very well. I'll move on to question 824. In the name of the honorable member for Benduri, Abudlai Abanga. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Education whether the Ministry has plans to act a boarding facility for the Benduri Community-Based Secondary School in the Upper East region. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
recognizes the need for boarding facilities at some community senior high schools or E-block locations. In the light of this, the Ministry of Education has mapped out all E-blocks located further from our communities for the provision of boarding facilities. From fiscal year 2019, we commenced a phased provision of boarding facilities in selected communities to drive maximum benefits from the E-blocks. To date, 8 number E-blocks have been provided with dormitory facilities. The procurement process for additional 5 is in progress. It should, however, be noted that Binduri Community Day Senior High School is not part of the 5 that has been mapped out at this point. Given the increasing enrollment in the school, the Binduri Community Day Senior High School should be considered subject to receipt of formal request from the school and also availability of funds. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I can only thank the Minister for his promise, but the Binduri community will lack alternative private accommodation. So what is happening now is that most of the have to rely on some families that live around the school area there. And particularly the ladies, the women are exposed to, they have to live with some family members, and particularly the female ones are at risk. So I want to plead with the Minister, prioritize the Binduri Day Senior High School and provide us with a boarding facility. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Move to question number 881. Honorable Member for Finso South, Dr. Ezekiel Poku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Education when work on the construction of the following abandoned senior high school projects will resume: Science Laboratory, Boys Dormitory, Administrative Block, 6-unit classroom block at St. Jerome, and Teachers' Flats at Dramina, Arkansas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Education Trust Fund is financing projects at St. Jerome Senior High School. 6-unit block at the gable stage, single-story dormitory block, roofing stage, and an administration block. That project has stalled due to delayed payments. The ministry will ensure payments are made when funds become available for contractors to complete the work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable. Any follow-up question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm really grateful to the Minister, and we look forward to his promise. Thank you very much.
Very well. I'll move to question 1011. Honorable Member for Otafo, Vincent Eko Asafua. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I have his permission to ask the question on his behalf.
Very well.
To ask the Minister for Education whether the ministry would reintroduce the semester system in the basic school level and the steps the ministry is taking to ensure consensus stakeholders and the ministry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in 2022, Ghana Education Service attempted to the trimester system that has been practiced at the basic education level to a semester system. However, the teacher unions were opposed to the move on the grounds that the semester system was rather too long period of time, and that may not promote adequate teaching and learning among pupils at the basic level. In view of this, the ministry has no plans to change the trimester system at the basic education level to a semester system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any follow-up question?
No.
Very well. The next question is in the name of the honorable member for Kumfi, Xavier Kukrenso.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Education the current status of the irrespective timeline of completion of the following Get Fund projects. Classroom block at Ekumfi Asafa, 6 units classroom block at Ekumfi Accra, and 3 units classroom block at Ekumfi Eswishia. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the above projects were not found in the Get Fund projects registry maintained by the Get Fund. Consequently, the Ministry requested Parliament to clarify the above question in relation to the projects, the funding sources, and the schools to enable a proper response.
Sorry, Honorable Minister, I want to be clear in your response. Now, when the questions were forwarded to you, you were not clear, so you wrote into Parliament to clarify them. Is that the case? Very well. Honorable Member, are you aware? Has Parliament brought that to your attention?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you may permit me to tender this document to justify my proof that the project in question is really a Get Fund project, because I had it told me through the then Minister.
Honorable, I have a question. Did Parliament inform you about the Minister's clarification request?
I'm not aware, Mr. Speaker. I'm not aware.
Very well. So you want a further proof that those projects are Get Fund projects?
Exactly so.
Very well.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I have a letter before me. This letter was from then Minister for Central Region, Honorable Pamela Duncan, wrote to the Get Fund on the interim payment of the project in question. Another letter, also from the consultant, the AESL, also wrote to the Get Fund for interim certificate for payment in the project in question. Mr. Speaker, another letter also from then Madam Jane Sabana Obin, who was the original Director of Education. And if you may permit me to tender this document to help the Minister and in context, sir.
Please, table them so the Minister will look at them and seek further clarification. May I ask that this question be deferred so that the Minister will get the proper clarification back to answer them properly. Is that okay with you?
Exactly so, Mr. Speaker.
Very well then. Can you tender your document?
Thank you very much for your opportunity.
Very well, I'll proceed to the next question. Question 101. In the name of the Honourable Member for Kachi North, Mr. Peter Kwesi Nochukotoi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Education to provide information on how much government has spent on the free high school program between 2017 and 2021 in view of the conflicting figures on how much government has committed so far. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the government of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo introduced the free senior high school program to improve access and quality of secondary education in Ghana. The program since its inception has contributed to improving learning outcomes in our senior high schools. For the period under review, that is 2017 to 2020, the Ministry of Finance approved allocation for the implementation of the free high school program amounted to 7,603,780 183,450 cedis. During the period under review, the Ministry of Finance released a total amount of $182,105,131 Ghana cedis and 91 pesos to the Ministry of Education for the execution of the free senior high school program. The total for the period amounted to 5,119,794,501 Ghana cedis and 20 pesos. These amounts are detailed below. We have the figures for 2017, 2018, 2019, 2013, 2020, 2021. In various budget allocations, the total releases as well as the total expenditures. And the budget allocation, the total amounted to 7,623,456 cedis. Total releases amounted to 5,182,205,131 cedis and 91 pesos, and total expenditure amounted to 5,119,794,501 cedis and 22 pesos. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I asked this question because the Minister for Finance, in one of his statements to this House in the mid-year budget review, stated that government has spent over 7 billion. And what the ministry gave us was 5.something billion. Now, the expense is about 2.5 billion, which must be accounted for. I'm not asking the Minister for Education to account for it, but because it's the Minister for Finance who stated categorically that they had spent over 7.so billion. Mr. Speaker, my question is, if you look at the year 2020, we all know that that was the COVID year, and schools were closed down in March until the following year. So I do not expect much expenditure over there. But the release was 1.758 billion. Can the minister tell us what this amount was used for, as schools were not in session at the time? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Sir.
Mr. Speaker, this is a House of Records. I will not attempt to make any assumptions about something as serious as expenditure figures. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll crave your indulgence to go back and take a look at the details, and I'll report to this House accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. We will wait for him. When he comes, then we'll look at it. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, still for the 2020 figures, since the Honorable Minister says he would want to look at it, I would want him to look at the second column, that is the total releases. It's about 1.4 billion, but total expenditure is 1.75 billion. How can you spend what has not been released to you? It's not clear. There's something amiss here. Can the Honorable Minister explain to us what really is happening here? Because yes, I understand the budget allocation, 2.4 billion. Normally what is put in the budget, what is allocated, is not what is released in full. So 2.4 billion, that's okay. But the actual releases, 1.4 billion, lesser than what was actually spent. So it's is really strange. Can the Honorable, I'm just explaining myself so that for the avoidance of doubt, so that the Honorable Minister will understand. So that's my question, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I also look into that, but my hunch is that invariably, as my colleague well knows, you may have releases for the year, but arrears may be paid from the previous year, and that can lead to a situation where the extra will be more. But as I said, it's a hunch. So I'll go and look into it, and I'll also report accordingly.
Very well. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to draw the Minister's attention to a similar case as was made by the Honorable Okudiatu for the year 2021, where the total release is far less than the total expenditure. Total release is just in the range of 877 million, and total expenditure is 1.9 million. So, yeah, you may want to add that to your list to cross-check.
Very well. Now, I'll proceed to the next question. He just walked in. I saw him walk in. We didn't even hear the question, so he wasn't here when the question was asked. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to find out from the minister. He was saying that some of the money that was paid might be arrears. But if it's arrears, it added to the previous, it shouldn't be in the current expenditure. That's what I wanted to.
This is an argument, not a question. So thank you for your.
He's going to go and come back.
Yes.
So I'm just.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to ask the Minister for Education. This expenditure that is being done, is it being done by GES? Is it being done by the ministry? Or is it done by the Free SHS Secretariat? Or across?
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, GES is under the ministry, the Free Senior High School Secretariat is under the ministry, so it's being spent by the ministry.
Very well, honourable members, I'll proceed to the last question of the day. Question number 1023, in the name of the honourable member for Zabzugu, Mr. Jabbar John Benham.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister for Education when Zabzugu SHS will have a dining hall for the over 2,000 student population.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, education infrastructure is a very crucial element of the learning environment of schools and contribute to better learning outcomes. Basically, facilities provided in the school have impact on student health behavior, engagement, learning progress. The physical and emotional well-being of learners depend on facilities that are provided in schools. The ministry recognizes the need for a dining hall facility for senior high schools with boarding facilities have put up measures in place to provide such schools with dining hall facilities across the country, subject to availability of funds. Zabzugu Senior with a population of 1,425 students have no dining hall facility. The ministry is compiling a list of schools with such infrastructure needs and will be considered in future interventions. Meanwhile, the ministry sent officers to visit the school to assess the situation. Given the dire situation at Zabzugu Senior High School, the ministry has appropriately classified it and it will be considered for future interventions subject to availability of funding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I Just want to add, I am reliably informed by the school authorities that the ministry has plans to construct 3 residential bungalows for the teaching staff. If be possible, if plans for it is not in advance, you rather suspend that and then construct a dining hall, because the dining hall is rather the most pressing need of the school at the moment.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that's a great advice from me. I'll look into it. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, and Honorable Speaker. I am grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Honorable members, that brings us to the end of question time for today.
Mr. Speaker,
yes, leadership.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
If you
I have not given you the floor, so you should not be speaking.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we have one statement.
Can we let me listen to him? What is it about?
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Vincent. Of that right?
The other paper that I was served this morning had nothing about a question I have for the Minister for Education. Look, there are some errors in some of the other papers. Somewhere meeting when, because I was supposed to ask the Minister for Education a question on UNE. You can permit me. Yeah, the question, you know, they have, it's the one I picked this morning is completely different from this one.
Can you read on the one you picked? Is it? Yeah. No, the one you put down, you're pointing us. It's different from the others. What
yes, even though it's 22nd, 20, but there are 2 versions of it.
Really? I'll be glad to look at them so we rectify them. Yes, and the table office picked the 2 up, so we'll see if it's justified. I'll have your question relisted. All right. Yes, your claim is justified. There was, I think, stapling the documents together. Your page 5 was replaced with page 46. Your page 4, and your page 4 rather went to the place where page 46 ought to be. Right. Honorable Minister, even though I had said That is the end of question time. I'll reinstate this question and permit him to ask you question number 1011. You've already provided the answer in the other paper anyway. No, sorry, that is not, his is rather 272. Yes, 272, Doma West. Yes, Honorable Member for Doma West, you may ask your question now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister for Education when the Get Fund projects that are being executed in UNE in Sunyani and other campuses in Doma, when these projects are going to. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in line with its mandate, the Ghana Education Trust Fund Get Fund is providing funding for the construction of 20 number projects at various campuses, University of Energy and Natural Resources. A total of 17 number out of the above are being constructed at the Sunyani campus, while the remaining 3 are being built at the Mar campus of the university. The projects being constructed include story hostel block, South Wing in Sunyani campus, and 4-story lecture hall block at Doma. Works have stalled due to delayed payments owed to contractors for the work done. The Ministry and Get Fund are committed to the completion of these projects to enhance academic activities and to boost the achievements medium-term targets for tertiary education in Ghana. In the light of this, payments for interim payment certificates for 7 of these projects totaling 4,006,832 cedis and 43 pesos have been made by Get. Balance of these areas remaining works to be executed on these projects will be included in the Get Fund 2023 disbursement for the consideration of this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With this, at least I have to get some assurance, like you said, that 2023 payments will be effective in 2023. I know you have made a lot of things, but because of the age of these projects, some of this started about 6-7 years ago. And looking at the progress of work on various campuses, I'm not very much impressed. So are we getting a commitment from you that 2023 payments will be effective? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister. Are you assuring him that it will be done this 2023? Yes, he's asking you whether you're assuring him that the projects will be completed in 2023.
Mr. Speaker, recently I was dragged before a committee, and the committee look at this issue of assurance. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd love to meet with my colleague and see how best I can support him. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable. Very well. That brings us to the end of question time for today. Thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions, Honorable Minister. You are now discharged. Yes, any directions, any indications?
Mr. Speaker, we have one statement from the Deputy Minister for Water Resources. Today is World Water Day, so if you can permission.
Yes, Honorable
Right Honourable Speaker, that information was relayed to us at conclave, so I think it's just appropriate we allow our colleague to make the statement.
Very well, Honourable Minister, you may read your statement now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that water is important to human survival cannot be overemphasized, and that adequate supply of fresh, i.e. clean, potable and uncontaminated water is essential for individual well-being is not in doubt. That is why the United Nations established the World Water Day in 1993 to focus attention on the sustainable use of water resources and to reassess our commitment to help address the global water crisis. Today, Wednesday, March 22nd, Ghana is joining the international community to observe the day, which is under the theme, and I quote, accelerating change, unquote. Indeed, the theme is an invitation to all of us to reflect on our individual commitment to contribute to the global water action agenda. It is worrying that in spite of our support for the campaign and effort to provide access to safe water, sanitation and hygiene, which is the most basic human need for health, well-being and dignity, Antonio Guterres, UN Secretary General, states that the world is woefully off course to achieve our goal of water and sanitation by 2030. It is interesting to note that barely 7 years to 2030, billions of people across the globe still do not have access to safe water and toilets. In Ghana, the narrative is a bit different as government has prioritized the water sector, which led to interventions that increased the provision of potable water and improved sanitation to thousands of households and communities. The Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources Annual Progress Report 2022, 87.7% of Ghana's population have access to basic drinking water services, while access to basic sanitation services is 25.3%. Notwithstanding these efforts, human activities such as illegal mining, sand mining, discharge of waste into the rivers and water bodies, clearing of vegetation along river courses, among others, floods and drought, as well as climate change, threatens the gains made in the provision of clean water to many Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, anthropogenic changes to our ecosystems due to the excessive demands around water bodies has gradually lowered retention by surface and the limitation of the inherent capacity of nature to fight death from the water. These rapid developments in our surroundings are causing increasing damage to the natural environment, especially the water resources, both surface and groundwater. The hard truth of changes in the rainfall pattern, difficulty to find water in dry season could be much explained by our people living in rural communities. They are either having floods in the rainy season or often drought dry season. Indeed, inadequate access to safe drinking water threatens the well-being of more than 1 million people around the world, and more than twice that number have no adequate sanitation. Mr. Speaker, waterborne diseases accounting for a large percentage of mortality and morbidity, especially in developing countries, and the general spike in the numbers during epidemics, floods, and droughts. It is crucial for us to double our effort in our commitment to providing access to safe sanitation and hygiene to all by 2030. Mr. Speaker, the government is not relenting to help communities to access adequate clean water. As a key and essential component in our drive, the Ministry through its agencies is considering natural-based solutions and climate-smart approaches to promote water conservation and effective watershed management, create healthier landscapes that are more resistant to drought and flood. undeniably, a community's access to stable sources of water is crucial to their long-term resilience. Mr. Speaker, consequently, government continues support to develop sustainable infrastructure for the provision of safe water and adequate sanitation to Ghanaians has contributed to the national well-being of more people and curtail the spread of infectious diseases and other ailments that are caused by unsafe water. Some projects being undertaken government through Ghana Water to increase access to good drinking water include services for enhancement of nationwide water management, which is 100% complete, Upper East Water Project, 100% complete, Qatar Water Expansion Project, which is 63% complete, Wenchi Water Supply Project, 20%, Sekandita Kuradi Water, 9%, Tamale Damangu Water, 11%, Sunyani Water, 8%, Yendi Water at 18%, Suwagope, Lomi Transboundary Water Supply Expansion, 97%, and additional financing Gamma Project, 35%. In addition, community water is undertaking other projects across the country in construction of Asangru water system, which is ongoing, construction of water system, construction of Sefi, Weaso water system, reconstruction of Ejura water system, reconstruction of Yeji water system, reconstruction of Mim water system, water source augmentation cluster, rehabilitation of Adidomi water treatment plant, reconstruction of Tumu water system, rehabilitation of Bole water system, rehabilitation and expansion of Wolensi water system. Also, 5 district water supply schemes, which is to serve out 230,000 people, among others. Implementation of these projects are in line with government policy to ensure that the Ghanaian population enjoys access to safe water. Sustained effort, this could also help lower the burden of healthcare costs and improve productivity, which creates a positive ripple effect on national economy. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to thank members of Parliament for their efforts in the provision of potable water to their constituents through various and sometimes from their personal sources. Governor, the effort and take this opportunity to thank you and urge you to continue to participate in the provision of potable drinking water to your people. Since water and effective sanitation are assets and are shared by every Ghanaian, it is instructive that we increase our commitment to collaborate to address water-related issues. Similarly, we need to adopt simple and practical ways to reasonably utilize precious water resources in the country. Mr. Speaker, as part of observing the day, we could adopt the following measures to help conserve water so that others have access. Cleanups. Take up in cleanups of rivers, lakes, and water bodies in your locality. We should also be curious of where our treated water is stored and how it is distributed. Mr. Speaker, if we face water and sanitation crisis in the world, do we stand and stare or do we act? The 2023 Water Day is all about accelerating change to solve the water and sanitation crisis, and since water affects us all, we need everyone to take action. That means you and I have to take some action to accelerate the change. We need more action, including individuals. Indeed, you as an individual, your families, friends, and communities can make a difference by changing the way you use, consume, and manage water in your lives. You are therefore encouraged this day to consider the importance of water and to work towards its responsible use to help achieve the universal access to water, sanitation, and all individuals by 2030. Our commitment this day will go a long way to be captured in the Washington agenda, which will be launched at the UN 2023 Water Conference. And this would be the first event of its kind for nearly 50 years. This is a once-a-generation movement for the world to unite around water. Honorable members, let's join the campaign. Let's play our part to increase access to water. Do what you can to accelerate change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement.
All right, I'll allow two comments, one from either side, and then so, yes, Dr. Mafu will take it, and then you agree on which one will take the next person.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm grateful for the opportunity to comment on the statement ably made, and I want to associate myself with the commendation that the Honourable Member has made in respect of efforts by me to provide potable water for their members. Mr. Speaker, our own late Kofi Annan of blessed memory said, if there is going to be a third world war, then it's definitely going to be about water. And therefore, he recommended that we need to curb that, we need to take needed action. And that is why I think that making statement today and drawing our attention to the importance of government providing access to potable water for our citizens, urging us to, as it were, continue in the effort providing our rural folks in particular with potable water is so important. That's page 2 of the statement. The statement recognized that 87.7% of Ghana's population have access to basic drinking water. And Mr. Speaker, I think it is not only access to water that must preoccupy our minds. We must also begin to evaluate the quality of water that we are drinking. And I bring some data from UNICEF report on Ghana, which stated that 76% of households in Ghana risk drinking water that may be contaminated with fecal matter. Mr. Speaker, 11% of our population drink water from surface areas. And we have seen on TV instances where the communities share ponds and water bodies with cattle. And so it is a problem that we face. So in these communities, even though one may say they have access to water, the quality of water that these communities have access to is problematic. And Mr. Speaker, that is, it is also important that as we at Parliament look at ways of providing oversight for government to provide water, we must equally be concerned about the quality of water, especially when we know the water quality measurements in this country, apart from ammonia, all other measurements fall outside the range of WHO standards. Mr. Speaker, our water bodies are turbid. The levels of turbidity are beyond what has been recommended by WHO. The acid content or the pH levels are beyond acceptable ranges. Oxygen concentration in our freshwater bodies are beyond acceptable ranges, and so on and so forth. And so all the
important parameters that are used to measure water quality. With the exception of NH3, all the others, we are not doing too good. And so much as we are striving to provide water resources for our communities to have access to water, we also need to think about the quality levels of the water that we are drinking. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, the call for us to specify oversight in this area becomes very, very important. And as Parliament, we have a role to play, that we need to interrogate our national budgets to make sure that there's adequate provision, not only for providing access to potable water, but also making sure that the other sources of water that people drink are of a certain standard. Certainly, Mr. Speaker, the mining areas country, the water quality level, especially in the southwestern part of this country, is very, the levels of contamination is very high. And so we need to be able to do something about it. And in that respect, we need to be able to call for adequate budget to be able to deal with this problem. Mr. Speaker, I read from the Pan-African Parliament call that we should make provision for more education financing. Rather, I would suggest that we should rather increase our mitigation financing to be able to help our rural folks have adequate levels of support to be able to cope with the levels of contamination in our water body. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this is a very useful statement, and I strongly associate myself with the recommendations.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also add my voice to the statement made by the Deputy Minister for Water Resources and Sanitation, the MP for Sisala East, the Honorable Amidu Chinia for coming out with this statement today. Today being World Water Day, the 22nd of March, has been dedicated to well water by the international community. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2015, the United Nations came out with a program called the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. And the goal 16, which we all know, has to do with water and sanitation. The Speaker states that we need to ensure access to safe and affordable drinking water and sanitation for all by the year 2030. Mr. Speaker, from the Minister's statement, page 2, he indicated that by 2022, that's last year, the progress Ghana has chalked so far has to do with only 87.7%. Mr. Speaker, if we are anticipating that by the year 2030, 7 years from now, every individual household or Ghanaian should have access to quality and affordable water in this country, then, Mr. Speaker, the space that we are going will not take us there. Why have I said so? Going through our report, Mr. Speaker, as of 2017, now I'll take it from 2015. 2008, Ghana's water coverage, access to water was 48%. 2017, it was 70%. And then in 2022, it's now 87.7%. Between 2008 and 2017, Ghana has done 22% water coverage in addition to the 48. And then from 2017 to 2022, we've done 17.7%, which means that every year we are adding only 2% to an accessible water and quality water. Mr. Speaker, at this rate, if we are not careful, we will not be able to meet the goal, the development goal that we all desire to reach, where everybody will have affordable and accessible water in the country. Mr. Speaker, it is true that there are human rights that is leading to some of the problems that we have, just as my colleague has alluded to. Human nature, I mean, say all over the place, destroying our water bodies, has also contributed to the shortage of water, because if you clear the site, the waterways, and cut down trees that's supposed to preserve our water bodies, you are calling for climate change, which will dry out our water bodies in the country. And this has affected largely our water in the country. Having also looked at our area where water has been polluted to the extent that our various water services companies have to use a lot of chemicals to be able to come out with drinking water, it shows clearly that if we are not careful, we cannot get there. And so I want to use this opportunity to appeal to those who are into illegal mining, especially galamseyers who are destroying our water bodies, should also know that we need water for our very livelihood. Speaker, having said that, I would like to comment and also request that government alone cannot provide water for all of us. Government alone cannot have the financial support to be able to provide water in order. And therefore, when the Deputy Minister commended the members of Parliament by providing balls and providing water in our communities, I also want to ask that our laws should be amended. Mr. Speaker, the laws that we have, the Community and Sanitation Company and Ghana Water Company has only one law. Ghana Water Company law is that the urban area should be taken care of by Ghana Water Company. When you go to the rural areas, the community water and sanitation are supposed to take care of that, leaving largely private suppliers of water. And we have private entities that are willing in this country that want to supply water. In fact, some of them are already going to a private partnership, public-private partnership with municipalities. Our laws need to be changed so that we can have these private services to also have the support, can also provide water in our various municipalities and district assemblies. If we change the law, if we amend our laws, I believe that we can reach the SDG goal 2020, where water, quality and safe water will be for all. Mr. Speaker, with few words, I want to commend my colleague for coming out with the statement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of statement time for today. It is past 4:30. So, unless there's any critical matter, I said about 2 comments, one from other side I have. Yes, unless there's any information that...
Mr. Speaker, looking at the time, we are in your hands.
Honourable members, the House is adjourned to tomorrow, Thursday, the 23rd of March 2023, at 10 o'clock in the forenoon.